This video is going to go over the steps to multiplying decimals. For the traditional method, the first step is to line up the numbers, not the decimals. So notice here that the decimals are not lined up, but the numbers are lined up. You always want to put the number that has more numbers on the top and the number with the least amount of numbers on the bottom. Step 2 would be multiply like you normally do. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28, so I put the 8 down and I carry the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 2 is 10, so I put a 0 and carry the 1. And then 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So I end up with 5084. Step number 3 is I count all the numbers behind the decimals, and I put the same behind the decimal in the product, in your answer. So in the first, I had 12.71. That has 2 decimal places, and 0.4 has 1 decimal place. So there's a total of 3 decimal places. So in my answer, I start at the far right-hand side, and I move over to the left 3 places. So I end up with my final answer is 5.084. For the lattice method, you want to make sure that your decimal ends up on one of the lines and your numbers are in the spaces. So then I have 46.2 times 0.45. So first I multiply 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 6 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. Then I have 4 times 2. 4 times 2 gives me 8, so I put 0 in the 8. 4 times 6 gives me 24, so I put 2 in the 4. 4 times 4 is 16, so I put 1 in the 6. Down to the 5. 5 times 2 is 10, so I put 1 0. 5 times 6 is 30, so I put 3 0. And 5 times 4 is 20, so I put 2 0. Then I add up along the diagonal, so 0 here gives me my 0. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 0 is 9, so there's my 9. 0 plus 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 0 is 7. So I have 7. And then I go on to my 2 diagonal. 0 plus 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2, plus 6 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. So I put the 0 here, and I'm going to carry a 1. So now I have 1 plus 0 plus 1 to give me 2, and then 0 over here to give me 0. So when you have your decimals, what you do is you follow them until they meet. So this decimal comes down here, this decimal goes here. They meet at this spot. So then I would follow down my diagonal, and then my decimal would go right here. So my final answer is 20.79. I'm going to do 2 examples. First, the traditional method, and then second with the lattice method. So if I had 0.6 times 0.5, so I would set up 0.6, 0.5. Now in this example, the decimals do line up, but remember, the decimals do not have to line up. You have to make sure that you line up the numbers. So for this problem, I do 5 times 6. I know that's 30, so I put the 0 here. Bring the 3. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3 gives me the 3. I add a 0 because I'm going on to the second number. 0 times 6 is 0, and 0 times 0 is 0. I add up. 0, 3, 0. And then I see how many decimal places I have. So here I have 1 decimal place. And here I have a second decimal place. So that's 2 decimal places total. So I have to move my decimal, which is right there, over 2 places. So I move it 1, 2. So my answer ends up being 0.30. All right, for this example, I'm going to do the lattice. I have 2.41 times 1.1. So I start with the ones. A 1 times 1 is 1, so I'm going to put a 0 and a 1. 1 times 4 is 4, so I'm going to put a 0 and a 4. 1 times 2 is 2, so I'm going to put a 0 and a 2. Then 1 times 1 is 1, 0, 1. 1 times 4 is 4, 0 and a 4. And 1 times 2 is 2, so I put 0 and a 2. All right, then I add up my numbers going diagonally, so I have 1. I have 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 4 gives me 5. I have 0 plus 4 is 4, plus 0 is still 4, plus 2 is 6. 0 plus 2 is 2, plus 0 is 2, and then 0. So for the decimal place, I have this right here. I move it down, this here, move it across till they meet. They meet here. So now I follow the diagonal, and then here's where my decimal would go. So then my final answer ends up being 2.651. I would like you to try to solve this problem on your own and then check the answer that follows. That's it. If you have any questions, please let me know.